Nothing but the best, the absolute best of vibes as we are here on location from the annual Run Pure Sports Fiesta. Happy Friday to you. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Top of the evening. If you're Irish or if you just desire to be, happy St. Patrick's Day to you wherever you are. As you can see here, we've got a beautiful cast on site. Eight game slate tonight. And look, there's been a lot going on. There's been an absolute lot going on so far today. C-Dome, don't know what happened to him. He might have gotten a face tattoo in Vegas. He is not able to make it, so our guy JSU is going to be sitting in for him. And then I got to shout out one of the OG members, one of the guys who's been with Run Pure Sports, may have actually been with your daily playbook before that, if I remember correctly. Our guy Myers, absolute heater, close to 50K this week. He's obviously turned it on. He's going to be giving away two $40 tickets to people in chat. So you know what to do. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Don't be an asshole because it's St. Patrick's Day. JSU, thank you for joining. Thank you for stepping in to the, I don't know if I want to say the big shoes of C-Dome. One thing we can guarantee, we're not going to hear about dual eligibility. We're not going to hear about guys projecting well. We're not going to hear about the stock buying low, which sucks because we love it when he's here. But, man, I haven't gotten to see you in like 5 minutes when we were downstairs together and actually get to do a show with you. So how are you doing on this beautiful, lovely St. Patrick's Day?
Yeah, I mean, last time I saw you was, like you said 5 minutes ago, when Rubio was challenging me to a fight. And he was really looking to fight me. He said he'd give me 2 minutes in a ring. He'd take the over on me tapping him or knocking him out in 2 minutes. I told him I'd give him 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. And, I saw him throw one punch, and I said, yeah, all I need is 30 seconds for Rubio. And AP stepped in right away, said, nope, that's not happening. It's not fair. Rubio, take a chill pill and sit back. So I'm on this show. Thank God I didn't have to wrestle Rubio for 30 seconds because I would have been a little more exhausted than I am right now. But I'm good. So I'm ready to go. I got Derek in the chat. He says JT with 2 leprechauns, LOL. Shit. I mean, what can I say to that? I mean, I'm short and going short. That was pretty good. I'm not going to lie. That's a good one. We're all drinking. So, Derek,
it's St. Patrick's Day. We have the Blue Mountains. We have the coldness. You guys got treated, by the way. Got treated to one of the most beautiful sky videos ever taken. I don't know if you guys follow Glock on Twitter, he might have given you a reason to unfollow him today with the sky pic that he tried to take. First of all, they're on the ground, Travis. They are on the ground, and it's just a picture of the wing, and it's the most disgusting thing that I've ever seen in my life, which is a reminder, if you're not already a member, go ahead and sign up at Run Pure Sports. Use code JTHayes15 for 15% off your first month's payment. Do it before you get too drunk on this beautiful St. Patrick's Day. Sweet Travis, man, I mean, no C-Dome. We get JSU to stand in. There was almost fisticuffs. I mean, Rubio, you guys haven't met Rubio. He's wiry. Like, he's got this little bit of wiry strength. But clearly, when he was showing off his boxing stance and his moves, he just has never done it before. And JSU, I mean, we've seen the man doing dips. We've seen with the weight. And I don't think it would be fair, Travis. What do you think?
Listen, Rubio, I got the under on 30 seconds for a lot of him. Everything he does is probably under 30 seconds. So I'll just say Rubio Dimes, no chance against Jason.
You're talking everything, man. Going, you said the full spectrum, like
talking everything. Yeah, exactly. But I did get to play. I did get to play with Rubio today in some ping pong. That was fun. I took him down at ping pong, so we got him there too. Rubio's just trying to bounce back. He's looking for something. And
speaking of ping pong. Mangone undersold. He told us he was good, and he even undersold himself at how good he actually was at ping pong. Him and DC actually were both unbelievably good. Mangone is definitely better, but they're really close. But Mangone is very, very talented at ping pong. I never knew. He told me, oh, yeah, we used to play all the time, whatever, blah, blah, blah. You know, I played ping pong all the time. I'm not that freaking good at ping pong. Mangone is very good. That was impressive. Mangone, Tony said to stay in your lane. That is your lane right there, man. Ping pong, I think I'd take you against everyone at RPS now that I've seen you go at it.
We got to see with Glock showing up. Glock's the key. Who knows what he's going to be like walking in the door.
All right,
that's true. But Mangone, I mean, this was, the people at ESPN would call this an instant classic. We had Chinese grips. We had these guys were diving into chairs to get the ping pong ball. We had a little bit of an over-aggressive DC trying to smash it for the ace. It didn't always work out, and I have to be honest. It was an up-and-down battle, and Mangone ultimately outlasts him 2-1. The last one, I don't want to say this, but I have to say this. It wasn't really particularly close. I mean, I felt at no time in that match. And JSU, you didn't believe. You weren't a believer in Mangone's skills, so you backed DC.
So, JT, it's like
I give JSU credit for what it's worth. He went in there.
Everybody said, "Oh, I want Mangone." No, nobody in the room, and there was like 25 people, right, Mangone? Like nobody in the room was like, I want DC. So, JSU being the contrarian, of course, I got to go with the brand here. I'm a contrarian guy. I like my low-owned plays. I was like, screw it. If no one wants to take DC, I've never seen either of them play ping pong. DC was very confident in himself. Mangone also was very confident in himself, obviously. So I said, screw it. I'll take DC. I'll take 100 from 1, 2, 3. I think it was like Title, Holden, and somebody else, whatever. And, Mangone ended up being better. But Mangone, even you could admit, it wasn't like you were way better. You could have lost. Like, you definitely could have lost.
The key JSU is, so you guys actually said this before. You were like, why do I like to serve last, right? Why do I not want to serve right away? The reason why JSU is I feel like no one can get up on me like 20-14 where I'll always have final serve so I can control the end of the game, right? I have control. So that's why I kept giving him the serve. And DC,
I did wonder that.
That's the exact reason because what happens, JC, is I normally always feel confident in my closing ability. And if someone can beat me when I'm closing in the final 5, then I respect it. And DC came back on me pretty nicely. So I that was when I knew. I was like, DC is definitely for real. And then game 3, luckily took care of business, right? But DC is definitely good. And we're going to do a rematch tomorrow. The plan is during like the chick pillow fights, right? We got a fight that no one cares about. We're going to run downstairs. Probably take us 30 to 40 minutes, and then we'll be back watching the rest of the fights.
Oh, those chicks. JSU might not be watching the ping pong because I might be very, very highly exposed to some of those chicks in tomorrow's MMA fights. I'll just throw it out there. But some of those chicks could put up big scores. And I never play the chicks in MMA, but I might have to tomorrow.
Check out Titletown's MMA playbook. I think it's up now or it's going up very soon because there was a lot of chatter. We've got Hasbulla in the house. We got a Hasbulla cutout downstairs. So this is a full-on absolute party. And our guy, Robert, he says C-Dome. He wanted no part of Big T on the slab, and I think there's a lot of truth to that. So sadly, he's not here, but we soldier on with the people who are. Go ahead, hit that like button. And Myers, I mean, you're the man. It's your week. You got to tell us what you want the people to do in order to secure that ticket. So go ahead and let us know. But I know one thing is mandatory. You absolutely have to hit the like button. We'll get started here on this 8-game slate. Philadelphia heading into Charlotte. Philly, a 10.5-point favorite. Charlotte, just no horses left now that LaMelo Ball is out for the season. Over under here is 228 points. Not a ton of injury news outside of the aforementioned LaMelo Ball being out. Remaining out, Cody Martin is going to be out. Bryce McGowens is in for Charlotte. Mark Williams remains out. For Philadelphia, Jalen McDaniels has been ruled out, and Jaden Springer is going to be active. Sweet Travis, we'll start with you here. Philadelphia, Charlotte, looks like Joel Embiid, going to be very popular. Maybe James Harden is a play here. Tobias Harris is pretty cheap at $4,900, but man, he just hasn't been doing a whole lot lately.
Yeah, so interesting slate, obviously. We kick it off with like a stud that like, you feel like you have to play, right? Whenever Jokic plays Charlotte, whenever Embiid plays Charlotte, like it's just hard not to play these center dominant guys against Charlotte. I mean, even when you have like Nikola Vucevic, right, against Charlotte, you're like, oh, you got to consider him. Any big absolute stud, it's just hard to ignore it. So Embiid is in an absolute smash spot. Also, he's going for that MVP, right? It feels like that narrative is there a bit with him, and he is now the favorite. So that's obviously a good thing for him in Vegas. So Joel Embiid, definitely a really good play today. The question lies, do we have enough value to do it? That's going to be the big debate. And when you look at this slate, we are waiting on some news. Just to kind of, before we dive in, kind of mention it. Curry's questionable. I think he should be fine. The Spurs, you obviously never know with them. They got Bates, the questionable, McDermott. You got Rudy Gobert and Naz Reid, questionable. Those are big pieces of news. You got the Marcus Smart, questionable. You got the whole Dallas situation, but some of those guys are priced up a bit. And Kyrie did practice today. So it does seem like a slate where value could be a little bit tougher on that side. Yes, we have like some guys like Jonathan Kuminga who's going to be in play. But what I'm trying to get at is you're not going to be able to just play like 2 or 3 studs tonight, right? There's not just unlimited value to play all those guys. So if you make that decision to play Embiid, understand that's going to be probably one of the popular studs that you're going to. But it's a great matchup, great spot. Definitely someone that I'm considering playing here in this spot for sure. There is another guy that we'll talk about that you can put at power forward or center that I really like on this slate that I definitely want to play. But Embiid is going to be a big man that I consider for sure. Just depends if I have the value to go along with it. James Harden could also be a pretty good play there. I don't mind him. Tyrese Maxey, I see he's popping up a little bit. I just don't think I need to go there here on this slate. I just think there's other options. I'd rather go at the price tag. I know even Tobias Harris pops up slightly because it's a price thing. We've talked about it on these shows. I know we talked about it with Big T one slate, me, you, and JT. We discussed how Tobias Harris at like 5K is just like, it feels cheap, but obviously at the same time, it's a little bit of a tough tag to like, really do with them playing with all these guys, right? They only play with one basketball. When you have Tyrese Maxey, you have Harden, and you have Embiid, there is the downside as well. And if he's going to be popular, that would be something that I would be slightly concerned about. So overall, my best takeaway is it's either Embiid or Harden for me. That's kind of how I'm approaching this game. And the Charlotte side, there's really no one that I'm considering here in this spot. Just nothing else pops out to me here on Charlotte. And it's an 8-game slate. There's a lot of different spots that we can go to and some news that could open things up. But again, some news might not open up as well. So Charlotte just seems like a no-go, and then Embiid or Harden as a spend up for me right now. And my lean is currently going with Embiid as one of my options. But remember, if you play Embiid and you start to play a lot of chalkier guys, eventually you got to find some low-owned guys to kind of get your lineup home. So just keep that in mind when kind of building out your teams.
Yeah, definitely. The value that we have right now doesn't seem like the type of exciting value that we have at times. And we'll talk about that. A couple of pieces of big news. Looks like a report out of Portland that says if the Blazers do not gain ground in the next 4 or 5 games, they're likely to shut down Damian Lillard. So that's something that we'll touch on when we get to the last game of the night. JSU, we're talking about that game a little bit earlier. And then Myers, I was correct. And he says it's only fitting that because he's an OG of your DFS playbook, that the 2 winners will be selected by us, which means us, myself, JSU, Sweet Travis. And it's for the best roast of AP. So the best roast, the 2 best roasts of AP will get those tickets tonight. Abe Toro says, who in the world is playing NBA DFS, much less watching NBA today? Well, we are, buddy. And if you are not, I'm not really sure why you're here. JSU, Philly, Charlotte, thoughts on this game?
Yeah, Abe Toro. I mean, this is definitely the wrong show for you, my man. The March Madness show is at 10 a.m. Eastern time today. Yeah. So if you want March Madness talk, those guys will be on tomorrow at 10 a.m. Make sure to check those guys out. Big T, Stevie Boynton, Kurt, probably maybe Holden. Who the heck knows with Holden? But, you know, they'll be on giving you the March Madness winners. So make sure you check that out if that's what you're looking for. And if it's not NBA, this isn't the show for you, though, my man. Back to this game. And also, by the way, real quick, Cedum not wanting Big T smoke. I just have to throw this out here. But it does kind of feel like he did a lot of talking. And I love Cedum. But did a lot of talking, and he's not here to back it up. He said he was coming, and he's in Vegas, I guess. I don't know what he's doing in Vegas. You can assume probably what he's doing in Vegas. But, you know, hey, he's not here. So
there's still time, C-Dome. If you're listening, there's still time to book a flight. I'll tell you that right now. I mean, we're here.
I can guarantee you by the message I got in Discord, he is absolutely not listening to this show right now. So that's why we're not roasting Cedum, because he's not going to watch. He's already heavily intoxicated, and it's just not as much fun. Maybe we have something later on in the offing. So stick around. Even you, Abe Toro, maybe you'll get a laugh and lighten up a little bit. Go ahead, Jay.
Nate said, would there be any chance of a JSU Mangone Ultimate Cruiserweight match? I'd pay money to see it.
I would pay money.
Only way I'll jump in the cruiserweight match is if I can put the max bet on JSU, because I'm not winning. I'll tell you that right now. I will say one thing, JSU. I'm a scrappy person, but once you put me in one of these arm locks, I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want you breaking
said it
my
though
arm.
yourself. It's you need to be able to out-scrap the person who's like a little more skilled than you, or maybe a little stronger. When the person is also scrappy is when you're in trouble.
Yeah, when they're scrappy and stronger, I'm really in trouble. Yeah, it'd be curtains for me.
No,
I'd be like, I'm done.
JSU Big T, JSU Mangone, those fights are never happening. So, like, it doesn't really matter anyways. It's fun to talk about, but, like, literally those fights. Even Big T almost, like, joked about it one time when we were together, like, a few days ago. And then he was like, maybe not. So, it'll never happen. So, that's that. We got another chatter? What do we got, JT?
We got a little bit of roasting of AP. He says AP is the only man that strippers leave a tip for to leave them alone. So that's a little rough. That's a little rough. But all right, it's in the running. It's in the running. All right, Philly, Charlotte, JSU. Talk to us. Embiid is going to be popular. The way I view this slate, though, as Travis said, not a ton of value that I love. There's some very obvious chalk plays that, in my mind, could absolutely underwhelm. And I like some of these lower price centers that I may get 40, 45 points from. Is fading this full first game feasible on this slate?
It's definitely feasible because you can just root in blowout. You know, Embiid gets you 60, but there's not great value on the slate, like you said. So it's a little harder to just fit him in general. Maybe those teams aren't as good, even with him getting you 60. And so, yeah, I could see the mid-tier route winning out. There's not many other, like, spend up studs to really pay for too. Like, yeah, you can make the case Anthony Davis for sure. You can make the case. I really don't like going with, I loved Steph Curry last slate. I don't like going to him after his explosion game because I feel like I was on the boat. I caught it. I went for the ride, and now I need to jump off if people want to jump on because he's going to have one of those, like, underwhelming games at some point next because I'm going to be looking for that 50 burger, and it's probably not going to happen, right? He's probably not hitting 50 again like he did. So even if he plays, I don't really love him. Dame against Boston. I mean, it's contrarian for sure. I actually really like that game too. I can't wait to talk about it. But again, these studs you don't have to spend for is my point. So we got Kevin. Kevin's coming in the closet. I don't know what he's doing in the closet.
I don't know what Mikey did.
Something just happened. I think Kevin just wanted some time on air. He didn't want to say anything because
he's a little jealous. He's a little jealous of the time on air.
Kevin loves the attention.
Kevin hates the free shows. I don't know why. He's just like coming. He might be trying to distract us, so we do like a bad job. I think
he might. Come on in, Dunkel.
Mikey's wearing a Top Shot. Mikey's wearing a Top Shot sweatshirt. I'm dying.
Kevin, you know what Kevin's doing? Kevin is tempting fate right now because we made a pact earlier this afternoon, and he's absolutely tempting fate by coming in here. But all right. All right. Philly, Charlotte, finish this game up. Let's get it moving on. Obviously, we have a lot of things to do. You guys have to get to going and roasting AP. I know it's difficult because he's so lovable. He's so good. He works so hard. But listen, take the fucking chains off and just go at it. Say something that doesn't make sense. You make us laugh, you get a chance at the $40 ticket from our guy Myers. Don't disappoint Myers.
I don't like, just to make this game easy while you guys roast AP, I don't like any Charlotte, so that's kind of easy for me.
Yep.
And also like Philly guys, like if Tobias Harris is going to catch ownership, I never play him, so that's just easy for me. If he catches it, he catches it, but I don't like it if it's going to get even some ownership. Tyrese Maxey 6'3", I'm good there. James Harden's the only other one I could maybe talk myself into, but probably not here. I don't know. It's either Embiid or pass. Let's just make it simple.
All right, fair enough. K. Fallick and his 70s Bush, says Butthole Jenkins. I will say this. Thankfully, we haven't found out. I don't plan to for the rest of the weekend. We will move on. Oh, my goodness. We will move on to a game that you were just talking about, JSU. Golden State on the road, where they've been absolutely dreadful without Draymond Green because he's an idiot and he got suspended for having too many technicals. They are heading to Atlanta. 248 total in this game. 248 is the total in this game. Atlanta favored by 4.5. Some notes here. We know that Bogdanovic signed an extension. Doesn't really matter for DFS. He is 4K, but he is a backup. Jalen Johnson is out. Stephen Curry is expected to play, even though he's officially questionable. Looney is in. And the Warriors have signed someone named Lester Quinones. JSU. 248 total. Warriors at the Hawks.
So I one thing, first of all, Draymond Green, when he got that technical, I don't know if you guys were watching the game, he was trying to get thrown out. I swear the refs were doing the best job they could to try to just like move away from him to not throw him out, because he went right at the refs after that technical and he was yelling at them. And I hate when refs throw players out. I hate when they say something and the refs get a little just like, butthurt, like, oh, that, no, he just said a word. You're a grown up, like live with it. You shouldn't be like tossing people because of that. But when you got a grown man, like moving forward to you, screaming at you, like cross the court, that's when I'm like, okay, maybe this guy does need to go. And I didn't want him thrown out because I played him, but it's just crazy to me that players have that, certain players have that, like ability to just scream at a ref like that for a good amount. I've seen Luka do it. It's insane to me that some of these guys, LeBron, some of the better players, I don't know how Draymond fits in though with Luka, LeBron, and I use Draymond as the third guy in that category. It's just too much though. Players shouldn't be allowed to yell at refs. It's crazy. I think if a player says something out loud, like, the F word, but they're not directing it at anyone, the ref should never call that a technical. It should never even, I don't care what they really say, pointing or whatever. I hate all that stuff. You look at someone when they're on the ground, that's not a technical. Forget that. But when you follow someone and scream at them, that is totally different. That's like undermining the officials. I can see why they would throw him out. Draymond didn't even get thrown out. It's weird to me. And, now we get this situation where he's out. They already have one of their best defenders in Wiggins, who's been out for whatever reason. I feel like no one's even discussing the fact that Andrew Wiggins has been out for like personal reasons, and no one's talking about what it actually is or where he is. Kind of weird.
People are speculating. People are speculating about that. There's some rumors about what's going on with him. But to your point about Draymond, I mean, this is the landscape, right? Any job you have things you can do and should do and must do, and then you have things that you shouldn't do. It's not changed in the NBA. And I wouldn't put Draymond in the class of those great players. He's more like, honestly, more closely aligned with the guy that he went off on a couple of weeks ago, Dylan Brooks, in terms of how he reacts, how he handles himself on the court, his inability to control his temper. But that being said, he's out tonight. Jonathan
Kuminga can't like help himself though, JT, because he's like been in all the big games. He's won all these awards. Like, so that's where I disagree that he's not Dylan Brooks, because there has to be a separate category, because he's not LeBron and he's not Luka, right? But there has to be like a separate category between like the Dylan Brooks who's won nothing.
But how he behaves.
Nothing.
How he behaves.
Yeah. It's just a behavior, right?
Yeah.
But here's the problem. I think Draymond and guys like him, this is why we have Dylan Brooks. They see you out there. They see you're successful, right? He won Defensive Player of the Year. Who do you think Dylan Brooks is kind of trying to portray? Right? Am I wrong here? He's not.
No, I think that's a good point. I mean, these guys that are coming up, they say, hey, I'm not an elite shooter. I don't have, these types of skill sets, but I could be this guy.
Yeah, and that guy has made a ton of money. He's been in the league forever. He's been successful, and his team has won. So that's where I agree with you that almost it's Draymond in ways. It's Draymond and people like Draymond's fault that you get these types of guys coming in trying to almost mimic what they're doing and the success they've had. But to this game, I love this game. I think this game, there's a lot of potential. The way I look at it, Steph Curry being questionable. If Steph Curry were to be out, I think that boosts Jordan Poole. So right now, the way I look at it, Klay Thompson is my favorite. That's assuming that Steph plays. If Steph were to be out, though, then I think Jordan Poole becomes my favorite play, and Klay would be my second favorite play, because I think Jordan Poole, to get his ultimate upside where his price is, he needs Steph to be out. I think Clay could have a ceiling game with Steph in, and Jordan Poole definitely takes the biggest hit with Steph in. So that's why it would shift for me depending on how that Steph Curry news goes. So love Clay as it stands right now. If Steph plays, I probably won't play Steph, but I'm definitely going to want pieces like Kevon Looney, Dante DiVincenzo. I think you'll see a lot of like the guard screen and roll action. Like if Steph's in, you're going to see them try and get Steph switched on to Trey, and then they're obviously going to help Trey, which is going to lead to Clay being open, Dante, Jonathan Kuminga wide open corner jumpers, whatever it may be. So I really like those ancillary pieces with one of the good players, one of the Clays or the Jordan Pooles is the way I'm looking at it. But yeah, I'm definitely higher on the Golden State side as it looks right now. But if you don't go the Embiid route, I could see you just saying screw it and play like a Trae Young. Trae Young's been awesome lately, honestly, especially since the coach left and they got a new one, ironically. And Trey's probably a little happier too. And I think he could have a big game here. No Draymond, no Andrew Wiggins. Remember, two of their better defenders gone, help defenders gone. So that's a big hit to this Golden State team defensively. And then I think guys like Clint Capella could have a big kind of game if you wanted to go there in the mid-tier route. I don't hate him. I never play John Collins. I think Bogdan is interesting because he's 4K and we might not get much good value. So I think he's someone, he could give me 35. So at 4K, I think that's definitely someone that I could look to play. Outside of that, maybe DeJounte. Just kind of depends on how my teams finish out. I could see him finishing out a mid-tier build. But yeah, my plan, I'm definitely going to run some 3-1 stacks with Golden State, bringing it back with one Hawk, one of those like three guys mainly that I talked about.
All right, couple of notes here before we get over to you, Travis, to break this game down. AP is in the chat. AP, if you weren't here earlier, Myers is giving away two $40 tickets, and he says he's giving them away to the two people who roast you the best. So that's why you're catching some strays here, if you will. And feel free to let us know which are your two favorite. Question here from our guy Myers. Who gets the run for Jalen Johnson being out? You didn't miss that. I think it could result in either Bogdanovich getting a couple more minutes or John Collins, who's 4,600 here on this slate. He's only been playing 25 to 28 minutes. The rotation's a little bit different under Quinn Snyder as he gets a better feel for the team. And Butthole, of course, we are going game by game. We haven't even gotten to the Minnesota game. So settle down, put it back in your pants because Big T's not on the show anyway. Travis, what do you got here? 248 total. Golden State, Atlanta. Looks like Kuminga's going to be very popular, but Kevon Looney's sitting there at just 5,100, and you have to think with Clint Capella and Onyeka Okongwu sitting, splitting the minutes there, that maybe Looney could see a few extra minutes because of Green out and because of that matchup.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Jonathan Kuminga is going to be chalk. And I mean, I'll tell you this, Jonathan Kuminga chalk is a scary ride, right? I mean, you could see people in the RPS chat, right? He's got 7.5 DK points after one half, and they're all tilting that he's not doing well. And then all of a sudden he nukes in the third quarter. Like, it could definitely happen. I think Kuminga is a fine play, not like a guarantee by any means, though, as a value. I think he's solid, definitely at 4-4. But you brought up good points with Looney here in this spot. Obviously, things would change if Curry sat. He's questionable right now. That would obviously change a ton of stuff and change kind of some of the takes here. But I think Klay Thompson at his price is a contrarian small forward option that you go to. And small forward is always not the best position overall. So, yeah, I think he's not the worst play. On the other side, so you can play these guys like Trae Young and DeJounte Murray as contrarian studs. The problem is you can't whine and complain about it when they go for 35, right? Like the downside is there. It's understood. The reason you play them is you play them in matchups like this Warriors matchup, right? It obviously makes a ton of sense to consider them because this game is in Atlanta. Well, isn't Golden State one of the worst teams on the road? Yeah, they are. I mean, AP in the chat, he's talked about it. Tyler and Spread, we talked about it the other day, literally live in person. Just wager on the Warriors, when they're on the road, wager against them. When they're home, bet for them, right? It just seems like a simple process throughout the year. And if Atlanta does win this game, well, then what happens? one of these guys goes off, in my opinion, right? Trae Young or DeJounte Murray probably is a pretty good game overall. Now, the question is, how do they match those other studs? Are they worth it? But what I'm getting at is, at low ownership, they are pretty interesting plays. Also, DeAndre Hunter, Bogdanovich, because we have, what's his name is out. What's his name again, JT? I'm blanking on the name who's out today. It's
Jalen Johnson.
Jalen Johnson.
Yeah, Jalen Johnson, yes. Which, surprisingly, Jalen Johnson has gotten more minutes since Quinn Snyder has been there. So that is going to give them a small bump. Now, you can make the case it's not going to give them all bumps, right? It might go to one, and then the other might stay at the normal spot. So I do think Hunter, Bogdanovich, they are in play. I do think Bogdanovich at 4K is a really, really enticing price tag just because we know what his upside is. So I think Bogdanovich is the guy that I'm leaning towards now, mainly because it's just way cheaper. You could make a case for John Collins. Wouldn't argue against that either. And you could see it going smaller at times too as well, with John Collins maybe being played at the 5. So you got to like some of these Hawks values. I definitely think they're in play. I'm not playing all of them, right? I think about how I play them. I make sure not, maybe I'd group away Hunter and Bogdanovich unless I was like pure on game stacking that thing. But I definitely would kind of keep like guys like Collins, Bogdanovich, and Hunter away from each other. I don't think I'd play like 2 of them. And if I did play 2, then I want some run backs for sure. I think that would kind of be in play for me as well. JT, you're laughing over there, so I'm curious what's going on.
A couple of things have happened here in the interim. Great breakdown on the game. Thank you very much for that. I just got a tweet that our guy Spread Astaire, as everybody knows, he's the official serial killer of Run Pure Sports. And he ran into some friends. He's at the Cincinnati Hard Rock, and someone tweeted at him, "Oh my God, Spread is there. The bodies must be getting lonely," referring to the bodies that he has in Northern California. And then this comment from Nate, which is rude, but we're supposed to be as at the direction of Myers roasting AP. I'm not going to read this, but it made me laugh a little bit. It made me laugh a little bit, and we'll just move on. All right, so we've covered that game. Any questions?
JT, I will just say one more thing as we move on. So the other guy, just for a value play, JaMychal Green has upside at 3,500. If we don't get much value, I do think he's someone you could, plug in as a value play. And the game does set up for like more Sadiq Bey or DeAndre Hunter move to the 4 and Bogdan in there for scoring with Golden State and their ability to score, especially around the perimeter. So I wouldn't be shocked if, combined, those 2 guys took Jalen's minutes, not John Collins. It was almost more like they give Bey and Bogdan that combine his minutes for the most part.
And listen, these are 2 teams that need to win, right? Atlanta's still kind of stuck in the middle of that play-in. They kind of have an outside chance to get up to 6. It's probably not going to happen, but maybe better seeding for them. And, of course, we know about the Warriors and their difficulties. And without Draymond, it's going to be an uphill battle. So we'll see. We'll keep it going and moving along here. Next game, Washington at Cleveland. Cleveland favored by 5, 221.5 implied total. Jared Allen is going to miss again. Ricky Rubio at 3,100 looks like he might actually be popular. He's going to be playing in this game. Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma are both in as well. JSU will stick with you. This is one of the less interesting games, I think, on the slate, even though if you take a look at it, you see some of these prices on the Washington side. If you could stomach the matchup against Cleveland, Bradley Beal at 8,200, Kyle Kuzma is all the way down now at 7,200. You've got Porzingis in the mid-7s, mid-8s. What are you thinking here, Washington, Cleveland?
Yeah, Washington side, I think for the most part is easy. I could try and pull somebody, but I don't think I have to. So I'm not on the Washington side. I think if anything, it's more the Cleveland side. You've got some cheap plays if you wanted to try and get a Ricky Rubio 18 minutes and him get you 20. Karis LeVert's been smashing last couple games. He's 5'4". I think he'd be in play. But for the most part, I think it's going to be like maybe a LeVert or move on. I'm not really that high on this game. I like the Golden State game way more, and I like 1 or 2 other games as we, keep moving a little bit more than this game. So I'm lower on this game, so I'll let you throw it to Travis. Maybe we can move the show along a little bit.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. Just looking at the prices, there are some prices that look a little low, but fully healthy team, slower pace. Travis, what do you got here? Washington at Cleveland.
Yeah, so I do like some Cleveland options. Washington, we can just cross off. I do think Ricky Rubio at 3-1. I think he's an interesting value, mainly because, again, when you kind of punt with a position completely, it just helps make your full lineup work. And again, our value is not incredible today, and he's an elite producer. So I think Ricky Rubio is kind of in the conversation today, just because when you play Evan Mobley and Jared Allen together, when you try to find that Jared Allen replacement, they don't have that. So Mobley is going to play some more at the 5, where that could give Ricky Rubio a little bit more run at like the 1 or 2 at times throughout the game. And because he's a really good producer, I do think he's in the conversation today. So I'm not completely ignoring it, but he will have some ownership for sure. He's going to have way more than I kind of expected going into this slate, which could make it considered more of a fade opportunity. But I think he's in the conversation, no doubt. Darius Garland, I just think he's kind of this price play that projections are pushing. I'm not saying I like him that much, but I think there's other options I'd rather pivot to, but I'm just calling out projections are going to push him today. You would be surprised, just like the other day. I think we were talking with JSU about this. Like, he was 18% recently. And like, I was surprised on that one slate that he was 18%, I think, on Wednesday, but projections were pushing him. They are pushing him slightly today, which again, wasn't something I was expecting. I understand the matchup's a little easy, but I think there's other pivots I'd rather go to. So excuse me. Sorry. I couldn't hit the mute in time, but
Bless you.
Thank you, JT. But overall, Cleveland, you got to consider some of these guys because Allen's out. Like Evan Mobley, again, will get more 5 run. If I had to rank them, it's probably Rubio number 1 just because of what he can do for my full lineup. Now, if we get some values that open up, then I'd probably be off of Rubio and not as excited about him. Then I'd say number 2 is Evan Mobley for me. And then number 3 is Darius Garland, mainly because at the forward position, I do think Jaren Jackson is above Evan Mobley as a play. But when you look at all the guards around Darius Garland, there's just so many other pivots I much prefer. So that's why I'd put Mobley 2, and then I'd put Garland 3 in this game. But again, this is not one that I'm like targeting like crazy. And those are the only 3 that I'm even considering right now.
All right, fair enough. That'll do it for Washington at Cleveland. Actually, one question. Andrew Martinez, he's been a loyal viewer for quite some time now. He's asking about Cedi Osman. Cedi Osman, 3,400. He has played 30 minutes the last couple of games. I know that our guy Gary likes him quite a bit today, given the fact that there isn't a ton of value. He will be low owned. Guys, quickly, thoughts on Cedi Osman tonight in this matchup? It's a good matchup.
I mean, I think he's fine. My only issue is like, and I don't know if the minutes are directly affected, but like Ricky Rubio is back. Now, does that come at him? He's a boom and bust guy. For me. So in tournaments, 3,400, I think you can take a stab on it. You know, I'm not going to say it's a terrible play. We don't have good value on the slate. That's the type of value we got. So yeah, I'm okay with it is more where I go.
Travis, any Cedi Osman very quickly?
Yeah, quick way to summarize it. You can make the case that like punting like the small forward spot is not the worst idea. I believe he has that small forward eligibility. And like I talked about before, I mean, if Cleveland does put Mobley at the 5 a lot more, well, then it creates what I like to call like the slide down effect, right? Guys move from the 3 to the 4, the 2 to the 3, and that could open up some opportunity for Cedi Osman here in this spot. So I don't hate it, but I'm not in love with it. I'll say that.
Fair enough. We'll move on.
I'm in love with Cedi Osman. Cedi? I love that. I mean, I'm in love.
Return of the Jedi tonight.
Yes.
I'm not in love with him. I think it's
no, I'm Jedi. I might have to play him just out of respect now.
I think he's making a pun of the pronunciation, Travis. He's trying to say that perhaps the right way to pronounce his name is not Jedi.
It's Jedi the Jedi. That's it.
Jedi the Jedi. We'll move on. New Orleans at Houston. New Orleans favored by 5.5, 228 implied. Zion Williamson remains out, of course, for the Pelicans. No other injury news. And Travis, I mean, you usually see teams priced up when they go into Houston, like we saw with the Lakers the other night, but looks like the Pelicans got big price bumps down. Brandon Ingram, 8,100. CJ McCollum, 7,700. Jonas Valanciunas, you don't know if he's going to play 16 minutes or 35, but he's 5,700. Thoughts here, Pelicans at the Rockets.
Yeah, so like whenever a team of like that gets like a price downgrade like they did, and they're playing a matchup like Houston, they're naturally just going to pop, right? Like it's just the matchup is so good. it's kind of one reason Memphis is popping today, right? Like their prices went down and their matchup is incredible. So you have to consider these guys. Definitely just think about how you play them, though. Brandon Ingram, he slides into that small forward spot for sure. I think he's definitely an interesting mid-tier option that you should consider here. CJ McCollum is a little tougher for me to get to. He is a leverage off of a guy like Brandon Ingram, but I could understand it at 7-7, like a pivot off of a Darius Garland. If you told me McCollum or Garland, I'd probably rather go McCollum. But for me, I lean going Ingram over McCollum, mainly because he kind of slides in that small forward position pretty nicely. So I think Brandon Ingram is definitely going to be a pretty interesting play here. I just never play Jonas Valanciunas. I'll admit JSU definitely plays him a little bit more and probably has a better read on that. So maybe he has a good read because, again, you can target Houston with the big man, right? So, again, I think Brandon Ingram, pretty good play that I'm definitely considering here. But and then CJ McCollum, not a bad option. And then other than that, like, I'm not dying to get to too many Rockets, right? I understand, like, Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. have been a lot better, but I just don't really see myself getting there now with Sengun being back, right? I mean, prices have gone up too. It just doesn't seem like a spot to target any Rockets. So I'm going to keep it simple. Ingram's my top play in this game. And then followed by Ingram, it'd be McCollum at number 2. And then I'm really kind of staying away from the rest of the plays there.
All right, the boys are bringing us refills. And that brings me to my next point. Before we get to JSU, look, I got to be honest about this. We're obviously at a party. We're at a big house party. You've seen maybe some tweets. You've seen some pictures. We were talking a little bit earlier. Hasbulla is in the house for the fights tomorrow. We've had ping pong, Chinese grips. We've got Draft Sheet and Nice Kevin saying they can kick 48-yard field goals. That's hopefully going to happen tomorrow. I mean, they're definitely not going to fucking kick 48-yard field goals, but they're going to try, and we're going to laugh at them when they don't do it. But, I mean, listen, the likes are fucking disgusting. 430 watching, 163 likes. It's just not good. And we're here in the middle of a party bringing you this information. There is no Up to Lock show. This is your only option to get the plays of the day. We've already talked about them. They're pretty fire. And I'm going to tell you right now, 160, whatever it is not going to cut it. At least 350 is what we need.
And I got a special graphic for JSU today, JT. Like, I got a special play of the day that needs to be seen. Like, I texted Big T and I said, Big T, I got this graphic you're going to love of JSU. So those likes need to be hit. And while we got people in the house listening, I wouldn't mind some Cheetos if anyone wants to come upstairs and bring me some Cheetos. I'd be interested in that right now.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are.
What you want? Cheetos?
Yeah, Cheetos or barbecue chips. Those sound good right now. Either or, I'd be interested in someone bringing
I mean, thank God for our coworkers bringing us refreshments, bringing us refills. And you just can't even show a little bit of love. Mike Carr says,
wait a second. Screw my coworkers. I didn't get brought shit. I had Mikey and Fallon come in and, I don't know, fix the hangers on the closet or something like that. Like, I don't know what the heck they were doing over here. That's all.
I don't know what to tell you. I mean,
by the way, Jake, yeah, I am a Star Wars fan. I like the first, I think it was 6 movies. I don't really like the new ones that they have. Not my speed, but yeah, I grew up a Star Wars fan. My mom loves Star Wars. I used to watch them on VHS all the time. Great movies. I don't make fun of Star Wars. I was a fan of Star Wars back in the day. I'm not dressing up in like the costumes and going to the movie theaters. No, I'm not doing that stuff.
No one's doing that.
I was a fan of Star Wars. I mean, does anyone hate Star Wars?
Tony, I think, but I like Star Wars. I'm interested.
Yeah,
I've never been big on it, but I will say, I mean, Daniel Mardoff.
JT, you probably hated like Star Trek, Star Wars, like all that type of stuff.
Yeah, I didn't watch any of that shit. But Daniel Mardoff is in here, and this is a false equivalency. He says it's tough to get the likes up because nobody's around. 432 of you, even Abe Toro, who's taking a break from spring training.
You too, man.
And he's just not even hitting the like button. All right.
Was that Mikey? Was it Mikey?
Shout out to Nice Kevin, who I got a League of Legends head-to-head with Big Kev. Kevin. So we got a League of Legends live qualifier head-to-head tonight, so that'll be fun. He's trying to fatten me up, I think.
Shout out to him, but he's still definitely not kicking a 48-yard field goal. JSU, the Pelicans at the Rockets. Tell us what you like.
Yeah, don't love the minutes they've been given to Jonas. That's definitely something. He's a guy that is definitely boom bust. You know, if he gets even like 22 minutes, he can give you 30 plus for sure. But it's just hard with him. I think with Larry Nance back too, it makes it even harder. And again, this is a slate where we might be looking for some value. A lot of the value kind of looks the same. Larry Nance playing like 22 minutes against Houston honestly doesn't seem that bad if you need value. Like I'll group him, just ahead the plays like JaMychal Green. He's going to be like under the Tobias Harris's though, right? He's going to be under, I know they're different price tags, but like Jaden McDaniels, John Collins, like all those guys. He is $1,000 cheaper, but he's going to be projected a little lower. But my point is, like, Larry Nance could give you 25, like for sure against Houston. That team actually sets up, I think, where Larry Nance probably should play a little bit more in general. So I think he's interesting as a value play if you're playing multiple teams, not like your main team. And then you got BI and CJ. When BI's in, I don't really like CJ as much. It's normally how it goes with his upside. I do think at 8,100, BI has upside. I just don't know if I'm going to get to him specifically here on this slate. And I feel like all those other Pelicans, they're priced up to when BI was out. So I'm off most of the Pelicans outside of like maybe Larry Nance if I need him in a tournament play. Just a filler. I think he is because he's power forward and center. So you don't run into that. Like if you like two centers, you don't need like JaMychal Green. He's only center eligible. So it takes away a center spot. So if you really like some center plays, it's kind of tough. Larry Nance, you can plug in at power forward. So not much on the New Orleans side for me. Houston, KPJ's been awesome. Like Kevin Porter Jr., I've been playing him the last couple of slates. He's been really, really good. The assists are up. Rebounding numbers are good. He's been, scoring at a solid rate. I think 7,500, he still has upside at 7,500. I mean, this guy can legitimately get you 50 at 7,500. So on a mid-tier build, he fits for sure for me. So I'm not saying he's like my favorite play, but he's probably my top play on the Rockets. Jabari Smith is priced like Şengün was out because of those monster games. Şengün's been kind of tough to roster as of now. And then like Eason, Martin, I think you could pull one of those guys, but I don't need to. So, yeah, KPJ is probably my favorite play on the Rockets. Keep it easy.
Yeah, all those guys in the front court there priced up a little bit for Houston. So make them a little bit tougher. Run Like says AP Sayre was the prototype for the little Lego guys. So, I mean, that's interesting. That's a humorous little quote. And then
that's a good one. I think that's a leader for me. That's pretty good.
That's not bad. That's not bad. King of Smack. Spurs look to have the best value guys. They're priced down. This is a disgusting take. The Spurs are never the best plays on any given slate. We are going to that game right now.
JT, did you get in the live show chat?
What?
You might want to get in the live show chat. See some AP takes here. We'll
have to. I mean, they should have been putting them in the YouTube chat. But I'll go ahead. I'll check in the live show chat just to see what's going on. And in the meantime, while I do that, JSU, you can talk to us about this game, which looks to be one of the more popular, if not the most popular games of the night. Memphis into San Antonio. Memphis favored by 8.5, 234.5 point total. On the Memphis side, Jake LaRavia is questionable. John Moran finished up his quick counseling session, but he's not going to be back just yet. Vince Williams is out on the San Antonio side. Keita Bates-Diop is questionable. Ken Burch remains out. We are going to have Zach Collins, Jeremy Sochan, and Devin Vassell. Doug McDermott is doubtful. Devontae Graham is going to be out, as well as Romeo Langford this game. A lot of Memphis players are popping in optos. Prices look good. It's still Memphis. It's still a concern, but it is the best matchup, one of the best matchups in the NBA. What are you thinking about here, Memphis in San Antonio?
Yeah, Tyus Jones seems like a really, since we're making fun of AP, I'll use him a little bit, tasty play on this slate at 6,700. Finally gets back down into that, in my opinion, sweet spot. He was up in that 7K range, back down to 6,700, kind of coming off some not so great games either. What's like a get right spot like the San Antonio Spurs, JT, but not just the Spurs. He gets the Spurs and Trey Jones here. So I think it's very interesting for Tyus. I like him. Jaren Jackson's going to be really popular on this slate. He is just someone I will go down with it. I won't just ride the ship and go down with it. Like, I can't do it when he's popular. I like playing Jaren Jackson when he is 5-10% owned at most, and I don't have to tilt if he gets in foul trouble because I'm playing him looking for that ceiling game. It's just gross to me. Like, if he's going to really be this chalky, I can't do it. I just can't do Jaren Jackson on this slate at the ownership that he's going to come in at. So for me, it's definitely Tyus from Memphis. And then from the Spurs, you got my guy Sochan, who's been who was really good last game. I think you could go back to him at 5,600. Trey Jones is cheap. They're down some guards. He seems like at 5,100 on this slate. If he fell on him as the last piece, I don't hate it. Even though he hasn't been that great. Those are probably my two favorite on the Spurs because Devin Vassell has very rarely shown us upside in this year. Like, it's weird. I think he is, by the way, like the best player on this team. I haven't seen it though all year. He's been playing behind Keldon as like the number 2. Keldon doesn't even look that good to me, honestly. He doesn't even look that great. The only one I could even click on actually, maybe Zach Collins. He at least has upside. Memphis still without Steven Adams. I could see Zach Collins maybe giving you 35 in this spot, which, could be decent at 6,500. He'd get you 35, 40, I think is possible. But I'm not in love with the San Antonio spend ups as much. Maybe the mid-tier guys, the value guys too, for me. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like Spurs value. Definitely like maybe Malachi Branham or whatever, but I'm kind of out on it. I don't want any of these other pieces. Just give me maybe Sochan and Jones, and I'll move on from San Antonio.
Yeah, so King of Smack, here's the thing, right? The prices are cheap on San Antonio, but the rotations are still pretty volatile. Even though they only have a bunch of guys, a lot of these guys have only been getting 28, 29 minutes. And is that something you want on an 8-game slate? Or do you want to go to guys with upside? We talked about the
which guys are cheap? Give me some names.
So Trey Jones is 5,100. Sochan 5,600. I think Collins is a little bit too priced up because I like centers below him, right?
I wouldn't call him cheap though. So give me because Trey Jones and Sochan. Yeah. Okay, maybe they're cheap. Give me. Is there anyone else, or is those like?
You got Malachi Branham, who I think is 4,500. But this is a guy. Even if he gets the minutes, he can do absolutely nothing in those minutes. So I mean, it isn't like there's smash. These aren't smash values. These are speculative values.
Yeah, I agree.
Memphis, San Antonio. Memphis going to be very popular, and some of these bringbacks on the Spurs may be popular as well. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so a couple things to call out the Spurs. Obviously, there are some interesting plays on this team that you can't ignore them. You have to think about, should I play them or should I not play them? Because they project pretty well, and I understand why. So Trey Jones at 6'7" is a little bit of a tougher price tag. I'm definitely not super excited about him at that price. Is he 6'7" or I'm looking at Tyus, aren't I? Yeah, I'm looking at Tyus. He's 5. Sorry, he's 5'1". So 5'1" isn't bad. And I agree with the point that JSU was kind of saying was, I think it's Sochan and Jones or bust for me. I think that's really where I kind of stop. The one guy that I could consider playing, for one, I don't really ever play Keldon Johnson. I just don't feel the need to. I think he's priced up. I think there's better plays in that range. No need for Keldon for me. I don't mind Zach Collins at 6'5". I do worry about this matchup a little bit because, yeah, Jaren Jackson, he can get into foul trouble. He's gotten better about it, but Zach Collins has his own foul issues too as well. But he's an elite fantasy producer. So I think Zach Collins at 6'6" or 6'5", it's around that range. I wouldn't ignore him. Sochan I like a lot because he got that power forward eligibility, so I can slide him in at one of those forward spots. And then I do think that Trey Jones is in play too at 5'1". So it's mainly those three. The rankings for them for me is probably going Sochan 1, Jones 2, and I'd probably list Collins 3 when it comes to the Spurs side of the ball. Now, the Memphis side of the ball, it's a different story, and I think these Memphis players are better than the Spurs ones. I'd say For me, I kind of trust Jaren Jackson and his foul issues a little bit more. One thing that I at least will note is this is one of those matchups. Like if you look at the Dallas game, he kind of had some down games against Dallas. But why did he probably have down games? Well, one of them blew out. Two, Dallas plays at a little bit of a slower pace as well. But the Spurs, they are the elite matchup for the stocks guys, right? I kind of like to talk about this. Like, when do you want to play a guy like a Herbert Jones who gets a lot of steals and blocks? In the sloppier games and in these matchups like Houston and the Spurs. That's the same with Jaren Jackson. That is one reason why he's projecting well, but it's not only that, it's the price tag. I understand JSU's reason for the fade for what it's worth, right? If you decide to fade Jaren Jackson today, you're already being very different right away. But at 7-3, I do think he's a really good play. I'll have him on at least one of my teams. Maybe he'll be on both of them. And I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is a really, really strong play, but I understand the downside of the fouls, but I kind of believe he's been better about it. And I'm going to kind of take the chance on that, I think. I do think Zach Collins, again, could have that risk. I think Desmond Bane at his price tag, he's a good play, but I guess the one thing I'm thinking through with these guards is it feels like a lot of guards in this like 7-4 range or 7K, like, or higher sevens. Feels like there's a lot of pivots I can go to. So that's where I might maybe not get as excited about Desmond Bane. I think he's a solid play at 7-4, but I really like Tyus Jones. I think at 6-7, he's a really strong play. One guy that I really like, and I'll definitely have him on at least one of my teams tonight for sure. So for me, I rank up Jaren Jackson 1, Tyus Jones 2, Desmond Bane 3. Another guy to call out that I noticed was popping today and I didn't totally understand was Santi Aldama. Now, he will get a little bit of extra run, right? He'll play that like low 20s a minutes. And I know we're struggling for value and he's only 3.9K, but I just don't know if that's chalk I want to eat with Santi Aldama. It is a good matchup. You could call that out because obviously bigs against the Spurs have been pretty good, but I don't know what to do with Santi Aldama. I don't know if you have a take on that, JT, because I do think he is popping up a lot and I think he's going to gain some ownership today.
So, I mean, on the Aldama, probably not for my main lineup, right? 3,900, though, is a price decrease. He does get, as you pointed out, one of the best matchups here. You know he's going to be playing 20, 24 minutes. So you get an under 4K guy who can shoot a three, who can get some rebounds for under 4K. I think for me, the way I'm handling this game, in my main lineup, I just don't want to be overweight here. I think it's going to be a very popular game. I think in tournaments, a game stack here of like 4 Grizzlies and 2 Spurs with a couple of studs is interesting just in case. We saw the Spurs take the Mavericks to overtime last game. They have played hard for Popovich, and Memphis has not been good without Ja Morant. So this is not like a smash spot by any means for the Grizzlies in terms of a victory. It is a smash spot in terms of DFS production. But we will go ahead and move on here. 242 likes, 455 watches. Just not going to get it done. Just not going to get it done. We want to give you the plays of the day, but that is simply not going to be enough likes. We're going to move on to, and Romy Johnson, I'll get to your question here in a minute, but we're going to move on to a game that Butto Jenkins is obviously very interested in because he has asked us about every single member of the Timberwolves and why we haven't talked about them yet. It is the Timberwolves in Chicago. Chicago, surprisingly to me, Travis, favorite by 2.5. Over under here is 225. I know that the Bet Show guys liked perhaps an overwhelming Minnesota win here. Got some news. Javonte Green is doubtful. Alex Caruso and Rudy Gobert, Alex Caruso for the Bulls is questionable. Jalen Noel for the Wolves is going to be out. Rudy Gobert is going to remain questionable perhaps for the rest of the season. Expected to play. He's only 7K. Naz Reid and Austin Rivers also questionable. What are you thinking here? Timberwolves at the Bulls.
Yeah, we'll say this. We'll start off with this. If Caruso sits, Patrick Beverley revenge game at 4.6K, JTHayes. I mean, guy that he's got the heart and hustle, right? These are the games, like the type of players that you kind of play in these spots. I'll at least say that. He definitely probably wants to stick it to Minnesota a little bit. I know he played there last year, but he probably still kind of feels a little hurt that he helped like build that team up last year and then kind of got chipped out of town. Now he's just been kind of tossed around. So I could see Beverly being a good play with Caruso sitting. So I wouldn't ignore that at 4.6. Also, I think Ayo could be a pretty good play. I know he pops up in these spots and he's only 3.5, right? That's really cheap. And when we're looking for some value, if Caruso happened to sit, that would be important. But this game does start at 8, right? So if this game starts at 8 and you lock in some earlier plays and you don't get the news in time, that could matter a bit. Even Kobe White or Pat Williams could pop up a bit here too. So there's definitely some opportunity here for these guys. I'm not as excited about the studs on the Chicago side of the ball. And Edwards has been playing some pretty good basketball at 9.2K. He could be a contrarian option to consider as a spend up today. So I don't mind that. Rudy Gobert at 7K. You could make a case for him against Vucevic. I do think we have to know the news on that, right? Because if Gobert happens to play and Naz Reid is out, they need him to play more minutes. If Gobert sits and then Naz Reid opens up as a value, I mean, let's say Gobert does sit. How are we not playing Naz Reid at 4-1? And if he plays, like, it just, this news matters a lot for the slate, which, like, I'm not saying you need to backload this 7:30 game, right? I know there's guys like Kuminga early on and other opportunities, but what I'm getting at is if you have roster spots later on, which I think if you even play guys from the first 3 games, you'll likely have a chance to, you definitely, and I mean definitely need to be playing Naz Reid in this spot. And JTHayes, we need a reaction there because that was incredible. I got to get a screenshot of that one.
I'll tell you something. It's a good thing that I didn't drive here because he would have been shot. I mean, that was one of those where I'm like, oh my God, I've been kidding about this, but it's real. That was our guy's spread. If you didn't see him, he's one of the best handicappers. He's absolutely awesome. Loved it. Patrick Beverley, he's been playing hard on this Bulls team, and you can't ignore the price at 4,600. JSU, your thoughts here. And guys, you literally got 2 games left to get us to a reasonable number of likes. And also, I understand that everyone thinks dick jokes are funny. Your dick jokes today are not funny at all about AP. They're just not going to win anything. So you need to do a little bit better. Have a little respect, put a little bit of thought into it. JSU, Minnesota, Chicago. Our guy JSU, who just was in here attempting murder, he says that he thinks that game blows out in a big way and Minnesota takes it to the Bulls. What say you?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Well, Spread said that. You know, the one behind you holding the knife.
This guy tried to murder me.
That guy. Okay.
The Bulls are gonna win handily.
I'll ease back on his take a little bit. We'll throttle back here from what Spread said, and it could happen. Okay. I do like the Pat Bev take on this slate. He is definitely someone. Listen, he's got a podcast, wants to talk about his stuff all the time. I 100% agree. He would love nothing more than to stick it to his old team. No doubt in my mind. He's that type of guy. I could see it. Kobe White, 3,700. I throw him in the bucket with some of the other value we talked about. He's going to get some minutes, and he's a scorer. You know what I mean? Like we saw in the last slate, he could have a game. He drops 20 points. He gives you 30 fantasy points. And, at 3,700, you would take that. Now, his floor is a little lower. He can give you the bad games where when he's bad, he can be really bad, even in 25-ish minutes. But, you're playing tournaments for that kind of upside anyway. So I could see either one of those guards. I don't like the spend-ups for Chicago. And for Minnesota, I don't really like any of those guys either unless we got like news that Naz or Rudy were to be out or something like that. If that were to happen, then yes, I'd have interest in the other guy. Whoever the other guy is, I would have interest in. And if Rudy was out, I would definitely have interest in not just Naz, but Kyle Anderson, even at 6'9". So that's how, news could totally change things for sure. But as of now, I'm a little lower on this game. We're going to get to one more game that I'm probably going to be higher than the field on. So we'll talk about that one in a sec. But I'm a little lower here on the studs for sure from this game.
Yeah, hit the like button. What I will say about Rudy Gobert is he's 7K on DraftKings, and at somewhat lower ownership, he is, in my mind, because you can play Jaren Jackson Jr. at center. He's an interesting pivot of a Jaren Jackson Jr. in tournaments, putting Gobert into that center spot. So that's something that I might do on a couple of teams. We'll move on to a game that I have quite a bit of interest in. JSU, I know you do. Travis, I think you're probably going to be aligned with us. And guys, hit the like button because I think some plays of the day may actually come from the Boston Celtics at the Portland Trailblazer game. Boston favored by 6 on the road. It hasn't been going so well for them on the road. 234 total for the Celtics. Jason Tatum says he's going to play tonight. He's going to give it a go. Malcolm Brogdon was a midday upgrade to probable, and Marcus Smart was a midday downgrade to questionable. Jaylen Brown is in. Peyton Pritchard and Robert Williams remain out. For the Portland Trailblazers, Jeremy Grant is questionable. Damian Lillard is probable, and Justice Winslow remains out. JSU will stay with you. Talk about a game that you like quite a bit, Boston and Portland.
Yeah, so I've been watching this Boston team for the last couple weeks, and I love this Boston team. I prefaced my comments by saying I do still think Boston gets to the championship game, and they're still my favorite to win. But they are, even though they won, I think it's like 3 of their last 4 games, they've definitely had a little down streak where they lost a few before that. And they just haven't looked that good. Even in some of their wins where they've won, it hasn't really been impressive. The other team has been able to score on them more with ease than we've seen earlier in the season. And one thing that I've noticed, I think it's just like, Boston, good defensive team. Like everyone has this in their head. Great defensive team. They're also tough to play with DFS because they have a lot of good players and it kind of spreads around. But we're just not seeing as much of the defense. And I've got some of the numbers up here. They've actually been getting killed by bigs recently. I mean, I can just recently I'm talking about. So this is a smaller sample size. But Julius Randle and Mitch Rob absolutely put it on them in that double OT game a couple weeks ago. Then you had Evan Mobley drop like a 27-17 game. Atlanta, Clint Capella, and Okongwu both combined for like 25 and like 17 or 18 rebounds and just absolutely together destroyed them inside. Houston destroyed them. Jabari Smith, KJ Martin, both had big games. They've just been getting killed. Naz Reid. I said it. It wasn't a Rudy Gobert game. Rudy Gobert played 28 minutes. Naz Reid actually had a really good game last game against the Celtics. It just keeps happening. So I'm done with this, like, in my head saying Boston's a good defensive team. Now they just got one of their best defensive players downgraded to questionable. That's definitely not going to help their defense, which is already not playing well. You got one of the higher totals on the slate at 234. And I think this is one of the games that, even though it's a higher total, it's the one everyone thinks of last of the top tier games. So for me, I think you're going to get some of the lower ownership on this game. So when you combine all that together, I think you're going to get some really good plays from this game. Jeremy Grant's questionable. I think he left last game with an injury. I can't remember exactly, but he's questionable for this game. I think you can definitely play some of these Portland guys. Yusuf Nurkic is 5'8". I just talked about all the bigs that have been killing them. And I didn't say that Robert Williams has been out for a lot of those games, which probably is somewhat something that is intertwined with some of those big games from those bigs. So he's out again. I think Yusuf Nurkic could have a decent game inside. He's 5'8". We know he has the upside at 5'8". I also like Al Horford on the other side because I just think it's going to be tough for Yusuf to get out in that stretch corner 3. I think that could be something that Al Horford could get them with. And Al Horford crushed against this team when they played like a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, in 24 minutes. Very limited run. He had 33 fantasy points. He was on his way to a monster game too if he played the fourth quarter. Obviously, they didn't need him because they were crushing them. But this game's in Portland. It's a 5.5 point spread. I think you want some plays from this game for DFS. I love Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's never owned. He will again be 5%, probably 8%, right, Mangone? Like, this guy just never gets the ownership love we talk about all the time. So in tournaments, he's a great play. And then if Marcus Smart's out, I think you could even talk yourself into a Derek White or a Malcolm Brogdon. I wouldn't play them both together. I would definitely pick one. I wouldn't play them both in the same lineup, but I think you could play one of them. They could easily have a nice game here against Portland, who's not very good defensively either. So love this game for fantasy. Love a lot of these plays. Even if Jeremy Grant's out, maybe I could talk myself into a Portland guard like Anthony Simons or a low-owned Dame, but we might not get that news till later, so we'll see. But I'm going to be all over this game. This is the game that, for fantasy, I'm going to be the highest on.
I like this game as well. Travis, what are your thoughts here?
Look at this. My guy Joey Work, the only person from RPS comes and brings. JSU doesn't love Cheetos. He doesn't, but I appreciate my guy bringing me Cheetos here. Look at that.
You get snacks. I get attempted assaults. You get snacks. I get attempted assaults. I was just trying to call 911.
I just talked about your dick running the Celtics a week ago.
Let's go.
So you know.
Yes, Mangone, you heard that?
I did hear that. It was painful.
Don't get to a reasonable number. It's going to be ugly. Travis, Portland, Celtics, JSU loves the game. I love the game. Do you make it 3-3?
Yeah, it's definitely a game you have to like some stuff, but it's not popping up like kind of JSU said. Like people aren't really considering this game as much. Also, we got to get those likes up because again, I had Helmet put together a special graphic for JSU. I want to showcase this thing, and I'm going to be very, very hurt if we don't showcase it.
I really hope we can't showcase this thing.
We got it.
About this graphic.
We got to showcase it. I texted Big T and I said, I don't know what you're doing. He's out getting sides for people for tonight's dinner with the steaks. I said, you got to just watch the end of the show. I don't care when you watch, but the end, that's all you got to see. You don't have to watch it right away, but we need to see it.
Get to 325. If you get to 325, I think we can get you the plays of the day. Travis, talk to us about this game. Remember, you only got a game and a half now. Travis.
Yeah, we don't have too much longer to go. So, but overall, you have to consider some guys in this game. And if the news hits right, like you're going to get some opportunity here. One thing to call it, like no one's paying up at small forward, right? The highest they're kind of going or even power forward is like Jaren Jackson, Brandon Ingram. They're not going super high up. So Jason Tatum alone is contrarian, and so is Jaylen Brown, which isn't that much more. So I like taking that chance against Portland. We know Portland, they don't play a lot of defense. And on the flip side, Boston has been playing a lot of defense. And they could keep this game close and Dame could do well. And you don't need to play Dame on your teams. Like now, if you want to play him, go right ahead. But what I'm getting at is Dame could have a good game and he helps keep the game close. He's not a priority on your teams, which is kind of an encouraging thing. Jeremy Grant might miss, which if Jeremy Grant misses, that would help some of those other options out. But overall, I think you got to like some Boston options. Tatum as a spend is interesting. Jaylen Brown, agree with that. Al Horford, I kind of like that call from JSU a lot. I think he could do really well in this matchup like he called out. So I thought that was a really good take by him. Something that I added to my content just now. So overall, I do like some plays in this game. I'm not as excited about this Portland side of the ball, but this Celtics side of the ball has some guys that I think you can use as some contrarian one-off pieces here and there.
All right. So just so you know, what we normally do is if we don't get the likes, we put them in Discord. There's no up to lock show. And you know what? I think it might be some of the members holding us back. So a couple of things. We got to get to 325. I'm not even giving away Myers' tickets if we don't get to 325. So we need 325 for the tickets, 325 for the plays of the day. JSU, you had a thought that you wanted to share with the people.
Well, I have a comment from Spencer Smith in the chat who is getting on our guy Butthole. If you haven't read it, I just will say I laughed out loud. It was definitely true, and Butthole said 100% right. So, I mean, it was a joke, but maybe not as much of a joke as fact. But a good comment by our guy Spencer Smith over there. So check out the YouTube chat.
Incredible, Spencer. Nice job. That might actually win it if we give away the tickets. Maybe you're in the running. I can't say because we don't have the likes. So we're going to the last game of the day, JSU. This one, I'm just going to be honest, it might be a short recap of this game. So I would smash the like. It doesn't matter. It's an inanimate object. You're not going to hurt it. Just abuse it. Dallas. Yes.
I was going to say, I'll hit the like as well to get us out there for the chat. So even JSU hit the like for chat so Mangone can post his graphic. I'm sure making fun or poking fun at myself, but whatever. What's some fun here with friends?
Absolutely. Dallas at the Lakers. Lakers favored by 4.5, a 228 total. Luka Doncic, he's out. Tim Hardaway Jr. says he's going to play. Kyrie Irving, questionable, but expected to play. JaVale McGee and Markieff Morris are questionable. Anthony Davis, probable for the Lakers. A lot of priced up guys here because Kyrie and Luka have been out. JSU, what are your thoughts here on this game?
Yeah, I agree with you. This is going to be a short one for me because Dallas, we don't have the Kyrie Irving news. I feel like he doesn't play just because Luka's out. Who knows though? Maybe he wants to play against the Lakers. Whatever. He's got a foot issue. I'm sure he's had a foot issue this entire time. But either way, if he plays or not, some of these guys that we've been playing and really like just hammering the last few slates, Jaden Hardy, Josh Green, they're kind of priced up to the point where you don't have to play them anymore. They're definitely not guys you have to play. Can they still get you there if Kyrie Irving's out? Yeah, for sure they can. But are you waiting until whenever we get this news on a Friday night? So this is where I struggle on, kind of giving a take without it. If Kyrie Irving doesn't play, again, some of those guys, maybe a Josh Green or a Jaden Hardy, maybe play one and just hope you get the ultimate upside from one. But I think at those price tags, I'm just passing on Dallas as of now, and unless we get news that kind of changes it. And on the Lakers side, for me at least, it looks like Anthony Davis or bust. I think right now, D-Russ is at 8.4. I'm not paying 8.4 for D-Russ with AD back. I think it's just a little too much. Vandy's priced up. Austin Reeves, even though he's been great, is up to 5.6. Beasley's 5.1. I mean, that's where he's kind of been. Rui, I'm not playing. We went down that route. Didn't work out last time. I think this game is just kind of ugly to me. I much prefer the Boston-Portland game. So I'm going to make this easy. Lower on the Dallas-Lakers game overall.
Yeah, same here. People are asking about Anthony Davis. He could be a good play here in this matchup. I think if Kyrie plays, he's interesting at potentially lower ownership, but we just don't know right now, Travis. We don't know what's going on with this team. We don't know what's going on with Kyrie. Everyone excited. Oh, Kyrie and Luka together. Well, it's been the same old story. Kyrie, just a different type of cat. What do you got here? Dallas in Los Angeles. We need 3 more likes, people.
Yeah, I'm expecting him to play Kyrie, but you never know, right? So who knows what's going to happen with him? Some of these guys are priced up on Dallas side, right? That's worth calling out. Like they kind of priced for the situation. Like Hardy's 7.3 now, Wood is 6.7. We also don't know what's going to happen with the news, so all that matters. But I'm not planning for it, right? That's definitely something that I'm trying to figure out. Is Kyrie Irving, Ted too. If he plays, is he a contrarian guy? Sure, but I'm not planning for that, right? So yeah. That's overall kind of how I'm handling it. I'm kind of staying away from the Dallas side for the most part, unless we get news a little bit sooner before I have to make decisions on some other lineups. So Lakers side of the ball, I kind of agree with what JSU said. I mean, keep in mind, we had what's it called? The AD sat that one night. So prices moved up on these guys, right? A lot of these Lakers are priced up and they're in a matchup that Dallas plays at a slower pace. So it's really hard to get excited about D'Angelo Russell at 8.4 or Jared Vanderbilt at 6.3 with AD back. So it's really AD at 10.7 or bust. And for me, if I'm playing a spend up center, it just seems like it's Embiid today instead of AD. Now, if you have a take on AD and you think he's a better play, lower ownership, go for it, right? Take the chance. But for me, I feel confident in going Embiid instead and then getting different in other parts of my lineup.
To be clear, too, AD could definitely crush this matchup. It's not. This is definitely a matchup where he could easily smash. The question is, like kind of Mangone said, do you like them as much as Embiid? Honestly, they're the 2 best studs on the slate, in my opinion. If you have a take that Embiid's just better and you're going to play Embiid, that's fine. AD is right below him though.
You're playing the ownership game. I think you're looking at Embiid for that leverage. And the question here from, as I mentioned, a guy who's been a loyal viewer, and I like to get these questions in. I've got 2 follow-ups for you guys before we do get to the plays of the day because the people came through. Andrew Martinez says, JSU, if you stack the Boston-Portland game, how many guys are you looking to play in a single lineup from that game?
I think you could play – you could play 4 or 5. For sure in this game. Keep in mind it's still an 8-game slate, you know what I mean? So the slate size kind of can dictate it, how much you like from the slate too. You don't have to do a full 6 match. Now, if Jeremy Grant were to be out, Marcus Smart were to be out, maybe someone else gets ruled out, that could change your viewpoint. Maybe you would go 5 or 6. You know what I mean? Everything is kind of slate dependent and where the price tags are and how they fit. for me right now with those price tags, 4 to 5 is probably my cutoff. And I think the sweet spot is probably 4, to be honest with you, on this slate. But again, like I said, you never know. Who knows? Maybe you get for Marcus Smart, maybe you get someone really cheap like Grant Williams, who's maybe for him on this slate, if he's starting and playing 30 minutes, he's a plug and play for you. You know what I mean? So that can always change the way the slate and these answers can kind of go. But for me right now, 4 is the way I'm approaching it, possibly 5.
And that's why you have to be in Discord. You have to be a member. If you're not already, go ahead. Use code JTHayes15 for 15% off your first month's payment and sign up. Get in there. Get the plays of the day. Big T's player pool will still be up even though we're out partying. It's going to be a great night. Make It Happen is asking, how is everyone sleeping with the North Cal Strangler in the house? Very simple. He's staying at the nearby adult detention center. That was a condition of his house arrest that he's under because he hasn't yet been indicted, but charges are coming. And then one last question. David Roddy, people are asking, is David Roddy a good play tonight? He was doing really well several games in a row, had a bust game last time out. You guys have any thoughts on David Roddy before we get to the plays of the day?
For me, my take is DM K Phallic in the Discord. He'll answer that question for you.
Fair
K
enough.
Phallic will answer that question for you.
Fair enough. Send your DMs. And by the way, he loves to get DMs. Ask him how his week is going. Ask him how his trip is going. Ask him how his night was last night. Ask him today. Just check in with him, see how he's doing. He's got the live final tomorrow along with our guy Sambo. We wish both of them very well in that FanDuel contest. JSU, David Roddy for you, yes or no?
Probably not. Again, though, I put him in the. He is not he's not too different from some of these other values we've talked about. The Chetties. I mean, he's shown the upside. I don't know how you can say he's that much different than some of the other guys we've talked about. So I'm not going to say. We just got the news too. Stephen Curry, Kevon Looney expected to play on Friday. So if you were wondering if Steph was going to possibly maybe sit. He's expected to play.
My guy Glock is here.
Oh,
yes. Look at this.
So is the match happening, Mangone?
Excellent.
Yep.
Is it happening?
Oh, what, the plays of the day?
No, the match.
Plays of the day.
People want to know, are you a ping pong player? That's
we got to get you guys out here.
He said he'll play. Glock feels
good. I got Mangone.
Very nice. Very nice. All right.
Even better.
I'll talk to you.
We've got to get you guys out of here because we got to get out of here and make lineups. So we're going to go ahead and go to the plays of the day, starting with our very own Sweet Travis. This is the ping pong play of the day. You can see C-Dome there resting comfortably, perhaps deceased in Las Vegas. I happen to be the ping pong ball. It was not comfortable getting hit back and forth because this was a tremendous, tremendous contest. Sweet Travis, who's the ping pong play of the day, baby?
Yeah, so we're sliding into a guy. He's not going to be 5%, right? But probably in that nice next tier, probably be in that 10 to 15% range, I think. We're going with Jeremy Sochan. I think he's a really good play today. I like running it back with some Grizzlies. It's going to be the game that a lot of people do target, and they're just mispriced in the really good spots. Jeremy Sochan's been great, and I think with the role he's in and some of the guys out, and on top of that, I'm not worried about him kind of sitting in the fourth quarter, right? I feel like he's pretty blowout proof too. So give me Jeremy Sochan as my play of the day.
All right, fantastic. Go Collect says sky pick time. It's always time for a good sky pick. I mean, you're not going to get a good sky pick from Glock, but you will get a sky pick. It will not be a great sky pick, but it'll be a sky pick nonetheless. I'm going to go next because the last graphic is the one that we want to end the night on. It's time for the Eiffel Tower play of the night. This guy is going. He's getting on the jet. He's going to have a long trip tonight because his game is in Portland. And JSU talked about it. He talked about it better than I could. I said this earlier today. Once I saw the price, once I saw the matchup, once I saw that Damian Lillard is probable, it's not Damian Lillard. It's Yusuf Nurkic, 5,800 on DraftKings. He is the Eiffel Tower play of the day. And I had to worry that maybe that was JSU's guy, but I know that he's got a backup. I know that it's going to be fine. And that's why it is time to get to the final play of the day. It is time for the little G, the LG play of the day. Our guy JSU, who is it? The little G play of the day.
Oh God, thank you for that. My wife's probably watching right now, loving this one. Hopefully
It's not real. Don't worry.
Hopefully my mom and dad aren't watching either. They might be as well. So I apologize to
Dad's not here, Jace. He's drinking the bourbon. It's Friday, so you're good.
Oh, that's too good. So back to my play of the day. JT, going into this show, totally stole my play of the day. I didn't even talk about him. I acted like
I told you downstairs. I said Nurkic.
I acted like I loved the boss. Like my play of the day was coming from Boston.
You're trying to
get him off the set. Yeah. Like I wasn't going. So JT did have my
whole life, baby. I knew exactly.
I have a backup though, which is good. Thank God I have a backup for the people, and I do think he will crush. My play of the day, after Stephen Curry just dropped a 50 burger, my man Klay Thompson's going for 35 tonight. He's going to hit like 8 threes. It's going to be one of those nights where in like the second quarter, he's already got like 20 actual points. I think Klay Thompson drops a big number. I think all the focus is on Steph. They're going to try and get Trey swapped onto him. And Klay Thompson is going to drop the hammer. Give me Klay Thompson as the, what you guys call it? The LG play of the day.
LG play of the day. You know that Atlanta's a fun city. It's got a big nightlife. And once Klay Thompson has one of his games, he may be playing with a couple of fun bags tonight. You never know. For JSU, for Sweet Travis, good luck in your contest. See you.